So when I finished up that last video, I realized I was really close to showing you the next thing I wanted to show, so I just decided to go ahead and crank this out tonight. When we last left our code, it looked like this. It's just a simple greet class that just outputs hello world. And we're going to look at what that string array of args is for. So, you see me sitting here typing all these command lines. You might not be used to the command line yourself, but the general format is something like command argument. Or sometimes like command dash dash something argument. The dash or dash dash stuff is about changing the way the behavior of the app is, and the argument is typically what the command is acting on. So let me show you what I mean by that. If I say ls without any parameter, it just lists the files in this current directory. If I say ls for my home debug desktop, oh, come on, where am I? Oh, it's not home, it's users. Users debug desktop. I'm passing an argument to ls of my desktop, and there are the files that are on my desktop. So how can we get a command line app that we write to accept arguments? Well, that's what that string array of args is about. Let's edit our greet. And I'm going to do this in two parts. First of all, I'm going to create a string here, and I'm going to call it recipient. And we're just going to set that equal to the name world. And then here in my println, instead of saying world, I'm just going to template in recipient there. So that should work exactly the same. Put my semicolon back. We deleted in the last video. Write that out. And I'm going to Java C my greet.java. Compiled. So now let's just say Java greet. And it says hello world. And I can say Java greet, let's say Loudon. Still just says hello world. So let's come over here and edit that greet.java one more time. Because now that I've set my default world, I'm going to do a little bit of a test here. I'm going to say if my args.length is greater than 0, that is, if there are some arguments to deal with, we are going to set recipient equal to the first one. We're going to ignore anything other than that first one, but the first one becomes our recipient. Is that valid? That looks good to me. Let's compile it and see if we get an error. There we go. Now let's run our Java greet Loudon. And it says hello Loudon. What if I don't say anything? It defaults to hello world. So we now have an app that can take command line arguments. That is what that array of strings is all about. But if I wanted to do something like Java greet Loudon 5 times, I'm going to be responsible for taking that 5 and casting it to an integer because it comes in as a string. So now what if I want to say hello to the teacher that I work with at Loudon Valley, Mr. Snyder? It just says, hello, mister. So why does it do that? Well, it's because the first thing in the array, the 0th element, is Mr. dot, and then Snyder would be the second thing because of that space. Let's look at that code one more time and see why. So I'm saying if the length is greater than 0, that is, if any arguments come in, we're going to take the first argument and give it the recipient. So how could we do that to deal with Mr. Snyder? Well, there are two ways. The first is we could just expect 2 arguments and string them together, But that doesn't seem very great, because then I always have to have two arguments to pass in. I could have a lot more complex logic about, well, if there's one argument, or maybe take all the arguments and cat them together. But there are better ways to do that. And it turns out my shell has exactly what we need. It's all built into the command line. I can just say, hello, greet Mr. Sir. I can tell Java to greet Mr. Snyder in quotes. And it says, hello, Mr. Snyder. So things in quotes, the parser parses as one item. Even though there's a space there, there's only one item there. And that is what that string array of args is all about. In future videos, I'm going to break down all that public static void stuff, and then we're going to go deep, deep into all kinds of stuff that Java can do for us. Thanks for your time.